Because one of the tenets of wokeness is, of course, that your feelings matter more than the truth. But
First of all, I want to give a big shout out to the homies over there at Oxford University. You're the real ones. You are the real MVPs. You probably weren't expecting this type of shout out from a brother in a do-rag in the middle of the afternoon. But one thing I will say is you guys definitely had some cojones in order for you to have this speech said on a college campus, a university campus. Maybe it's because it's in the UK, so you guys are a little more open. But I know in the United States, most college campuses have become hotbeds of the woke virus mentality. And it is a virus, best believe me. It is spreading like one, and it is having the effects of one. It is consuming our youth day by day. And it's something that I can no longer be silent about. I have to tell the truth about it because, you know, it is stripping us from the mentality or the belief or the knowing that we have control, personal agency over our own lives. Instead, it's telling us that you can do nothing about your life, that you're basically cooked, and that, you know, there's nothing we can do for you. And so I'm thankful that they had this man right here giving this speech. Now, I have not watched the entire speech yet, so this reaction is going to be real with y'all. I've watched enough of it to know that he was talking some sense on this campus. And I don't know much about Konstantin Christen, but I know that he's somebody who is willing to have open dialogue and conversations about things, whether he agrees or he does not. I know at least that much. He's got a little bit, enough sense for me to be able to say, you know what, let's go through this together. And if I realize halfway through, quarter way through that he doesn't have that much sense, I will cut it off, believe me. But so far, shout out to you, brother. Let's get into it. This is Woke Culture Has Gone Too Far.
Well, first of all, Mr. President, I'd like to thank you for that preview of the 2024 American election we witnessed earlier. And if you're not persuaded to vote for the proposition tonight by that speech by James, I don't know what will persuade you. You will not know this, but I was supposed to be the first non-student speaker for the proposition. I've now been the fourth, which means that I now have to thank all the previous speakers for making my best points for me. And I find that the main reason now that I have left to be in support of the motion is that I am so tired of talking about woke culture. That's why it's gone too far, more than anything else. And I thank the other speakers for making the points for me because it means I don't have to reiterate the point that no, free speech is not some right-wing reframing of whatever. It's the foundation of Western civilization. Upon this civilization is built and the Enlightenment values that led to it. I don't have to make the point that has been made by far better people in the past, that the only way to deal with the problem of racism is to treat people on the content of their character and nothing else. And the fact that woke culture seeks to overturn that is a new form of racism that we must all oppose. It means also I will not use this opportunity to say I told you so as someone.
This man is already going in, guns a-blazing, a-pa-pa-pa, a-pa-pa-pa. Now, I don't know what guns a-blazing in that sound effect, but I guess that's what we on today, pa-pa-pa. Yeah. Imagine that, the words of the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. That brother had titles on him, by the way. Imagine off the content of their character for everybody. Because guess what? When he said that, he was talking about everybody. Not just folk who look like me, but everybody. And yet we have found ourselves in a place where we want to bring back in the forefront race. We want to make it so much about what you look like on the outside and then to actually punish those who do not look like some of us look. And we call it, you know, there's no such thing as reverse racism. I believe that's complete hogwash and nonsense. You can argue me up and down. I'm still not going to buy into the fact that not everybody can be racist. You can absolutely be racist. I was born overseas in Africa, right, where there's a majority of a black ruling class, quote unquote. So you can tell me that, oh, well, the way that they were treating some of the people who did not look like them was simply, that's not racism, you know, because the systems that are in place, no, the systems are black-made systems. These are black people running these systems. So we have really turned this thing on its head, y'all. And, some folks have called me a coon, or Uncle Tom. I've been called a white supremacist. I've been called everything under the sun simply for saying something that should seem to actually be a positive message, which is, can't we all just get along? Like, can't we just put these things not as the forefront, but instead start to look into who people are? Instead, look at the cultural aspects. Instead of aligning myself with somebody because you have the same skin as me, do you have the same values as me? Do we care about the same things? Do we care to build healthy foundational households? Do we care to build healthy relationships as partners, as communities with our children? Those are the type of conversations I want to have. Not, do you have the same skin color as me? Okay, now, we're joined all of a sudden. Absolutely not. Skin folk don't mean kinfolk. There's some folk out there who, they want to be on foolishness. They want to sell their community the very same intoxicant and the thing that is destroying the community from the inside. They want to create more broken homes and yet claim that they are my brother. Absolutely not. I made different decisions at this point in my life. I used to be one of those dudes selling dope, within all communities, but I definitely was selling it back into my own supposed community. And so, yeah, we got to do better. So, again, this video, this is a conversation. We're getting into this. We're unpacking. If you want to watch this by itself, you can click on the link below and watch the video by itself. But, you signed up for this party. So let's keep it rolling.
I told you so, as someone who spent the last 5 years warning people in the West that if we continue to erode our culture, if we continue to undermine our confidence in Western values, that our enemies like Vladimir Putin will seek to capitalize on it. I will not make any of those points tonight, at all. Instead, I am not going to talk to those of you who already agree with me, which I imagine is most of you. I'm not going to talk to you because I imagine after everything you've heard tonight, you're going to vote for the proposition. I'm going to confess I will take your vote for granted. Tonight, I am the Labour Party and you are the Red Wall. Now, I want to talk to those of you who are woke and who are open to rational argument. A small minority, I accept. Because one of the tenets of wokeness is, of course, that your feelings matter more than the truth. But I believe in you. I believe there are those of you here who are woke, who are open to rational argument, so let me make one. We are told that your generation cares more than any other about one issue in particular, and that issue is climate change. We're told that many of you suffer from climate anxiety. You wish to save the planet. And for tonight, and tonight only, I will join you. I will join you in worshipping at the feet of St. Greta of climate change. Let us all accept right here, right now, that we are living through a climate emergency and our stocks of polar bears are running extremely low. I join you in this view. I truly do. Now, what are we to do about this huge problem facing humanity? What can we in Britain do? We can only do one thing. You know why? This country is responsible for 2% of global carbon emissions, which means that if Britain was to sink into the sea right now, it would make absolutely no difference to the issue of climate change. You know why? Because the future of the climate is going to be decided in Asia and in Latin America by poor people who couldn't give a shit about saving the planet. No, thank you. No, thank you. It's going.
Outraged about Prop 33.
We are. No, thank you. Ooh, okay, these British folk are different, boy. Y'all are different. Y'all say that, man. Oh, man, I appreciate this. I've lived in California for so long that you get so used to just people, being one way in your face and completely different other behind your back. Like, I love the New York style individuals. I love those who just, they say it how it is. They like you, they don't. You gonna know it the first time you meet them. They're not playing over here. What?
It's going to be decided by poor people in Asia and Latin America who don't care about saving the planet. You know why? Because they're poor. Because they're poor. I come from Russia, which is not a poor country, it's a middle-income country. 20% of households in Russia do not have an indoor toilet. What they have is an outdoor toilet. And I don't mean one of those nice portaloos that we get here. I don't even mean a Glastonbury portaloo. I mean a wooden shack with a hole in the ground that holds a collected fermented memory of the last 10,000 visits? How many of you are going to go home tonight and say, let's rip out our bathroom and erect a Siberian shithouse in the back garden? And if you're not, why should they? 120 million people in China do not have enough food. I don't mean that they don't get dessert. I mean they suffer from malnutrition. That means that their immune system is breaking down because they don't have enough food. You're not going to get them to stay poor. Imagine you're Xi Jinping, the leader of China. When you were 10 years old, there was a revolution, a cultural revolution in your country, and people came and they put your father in prison. Your mother had to denounce him. Your sister killed herself. And you, no longer enjoying the protection of your formerly powerful father, were sent to a village where you lived in a cave house. And here you are, decades later. You have clawed your way up the bloody and greasy pole of Chinese politics to be the undisputed supreme leader of the very Communist Party that destroyed your family. And you know that the main thing you have to do to survive and to stay in power is to deliver the one thing that the people of China want: prosperity, economic growth. Where do you think climate change ranks on Xi Jinping's list of priorities?
I am kind of, I'm ashamed. Maybe this is because it's Oxford, so I'm going to give it to that a little bit because that is a prestigious school in the UK, and these are intellects. But the level of intelligence, even in the conversation, is different. Y'all can feel this. If you guys are from, the States or maybe even different places in the world, there's a different level of intellectualism, of understanding and the depth of a thing, because this right here is, this is different, and I like it.
1/3 of all children who live in extreme poverty in the world live in India. That means they are starving and dying of preventable disease. Now, about 15 months ago, my wife got pregnant. Not me, because we're old school. And for 9 months, we talked about what our boy would look like, what he might do when he grows up. We looked at baby scans and videos on YouTube about what the fetus looks like at 9 months and 12 months and 20 months. And eventually he was born. And he is this cute little bundle of joy. He's cuter than about 80% of puppies, right? Now, if you said to me that I had a choice, either my son had a serious risk of starving or dying from a preventable disease in the next year, or I could press a button and he would live. He would go to school. He would bring his first girlfriend home. He'd go to university and graduate and become a woke idiot. And then he'd get a job and get...
Oh man, this guy. Okay, I need to find more content for this dude because this guy right here is he is unafraid. Constantine Christen, you have my stamp of approval.
And then he'd get a job and get married and have children and become a man. But all I have to do is press this button. And for every day of my son's life, a giant plume of CO2 is going to get released into the atmosphere. Now, you're all very young, and most of you are not parents. Let me tell you something. There is not a parent in the world who would not smash that button so hard their hand bled.
There go the parents. Yep.
You are not going to get these people to stay poor. You're not even going to get them to not want to be richer. And so, I put it to you, ladies and gentlemen, there is only one thing we can do in this country to stop climate change. And that is to make scientific and technological breakthroughs that will create the clean energy that is not only clean, but also cheap. And no, thank you. And I want everyone to get home on time today, which is not going to happen. And the only thing that wokeness has to offer in exchange is to brainwash bright young minds like you to believe that you are victims, to believe that you have no agency, to believe that what you must do to improve the world is to complain, is to protest, is to throw soup on paintings.
I literally just put up a video. Hopefully it's up by the time this comes out. And I began the video with that specific quote unquote protesting of the anti-oil movement, whatever that was taking place. I believe it might have been in the UK. And these two women, I can't assume what they were, so I'm not going to assume gender, but these two individuals, entities, walked into this museum with 2 cans of Campbell's chicken noodle soup and proceeded to splash a multi-million-dollar Van Gogh painting. So first they wasted food that could have been, used to supposedly feed the poor that they care so much about, as, being the social justice warriors that they are. They could have fed somebody, and then, they give their little protest stand or whatever it is, get their little Instagram moment as their person films it, blase, blase, blah. So I began the video with that, and it was actually a video on why I'm not an activist and why I don't believe in modern day activism, because most of these individuals are ones who would classify themselves as helpless. So it's like, think about the skewed mentality of a person who can't even take care of their own life, yet is telling you what to do about yours, right? Sounds a little like government, but that's a story for another time.
And we on this side of the house are not on this side of the house because we do not wish to improve the world. We sit on this side of the house because we know that the way to improve the world is to work, is to create, it is to build. And the problem with woke culture is that it's trained too many young minds like yours to forget about that. Thank you very much.
That's an absolute mic. And notice how the entirety of that room can't help but clap for that, because it's facts. And it seems that in that part of the world, there is still a space for that. I think it's a debate of some sort that they've been having, a back and forth discussion and discourse, which again, they have enough common sense and respect to actually have some sort of conversation about what's taking place, instead of yelling matches or throwing things at one another or straight up bullying individuals into thinking the way that they think. Right now, again, this ain't a political channel. I've never been one and I never will be one. But do I speak on things that touch in that world? Yes, because these are social aspects, and everything social is going to impact the individual. How our babies are raised, how we were raised, how our parents are raised, the sociology, the way that we think and the way that we perceive the world is based upon the ideas that are fed to us, the belief systems that are perpetuated to us. And when we have these beliefs that you are incapable, you cannot do for yourself, you are vulnerable in this world, and you have no personal agency. Funny enough, the literal wording I used, you have no personal agency, you're cooked. But once you start buying into the reality, the truth of the matter, which is the fact that you do have personal control over your own decisions, over your own actions, over which belief systems you choose to feed into, once you get back into that space, you are now empowered. You cannot be empowered when you believe that you are just a byproduct of circumstances and that will never change, that you can do nothing about your situation. You have to get to a point where you remember your inner power. It is the only way. And that is not this airy-fairy sort of idea, take back your power. What does that mean? It means you act and think for yourself. You move through life with your own level of agency, which means you are responsible for what you do. You are responsible for what you don't do. You're responsible for what you get, and you're responsible for what you don't get. It's really that simple. And that's the most empowering level. That's the most healing message I could ever give you. It's the only message I ever have for y'all. If y'all watch a lot of my videos, that's all it's about. I'll be preaching this forever because it's the only foundational truth that matters.
I used to be afraid of the dark, place unknown like a heart in their heart. I used to see my life in the bar. Now the kids unchained, every shackle is lost. 2 steps in the moonlight, 2 step in the daytime. You just know when it feel right. You got a feeling the time's not. those shades that I just threw on. Through my lenses, you just can't do no wrong. I fell in love with myself again. I fell in love with myself. I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon.